Hey guys, it's Cole, and so Diablo 4's beta has launched, and I just hit level 20, and now I am hitting a ridiculous queue to get back in, and so I want to talk about my first impressions with the game. I'm gonna say at the very start, I'm trying my best to avoid spoilers in here, so let's talk about what you can do in beta. So the main story that you can experience in the beta ends at about level 16, or at least it did for me, and then you're left to free roam with a ton of different dungeons to explore. I say if you're done the MSQ, head south, there is a ton to see, as well as honestly a heck of a lot of people to save, to say the absolute least. So there is no shortage of content here. Actually, for a beta, I am shocked they let us do this much, but mind you, they say that max level's 100, so hey, there's going to be a lot of game. Which segues into my first point, is that this game is definitely not for everyone. And I'm not talking about accessibility features, because you can choose how difficult the game is in world settings, and so I'd say that it is very, very accessible. However, I'm talking about the story, the lore, the graphics, the gameplay. They truly went to the max with the story and the aesthetics. Some of these scenes are definitely not going to be shown on my channel whatsoever. I laugh because they were so brutal and so over the top horrible. That, yeah. So it's like that awkward laugh about, oh my god, what did I just see? We're very, very far from the land of cat girls, I can tell you that. And while this isn't something that really scares me that much, because I actually used to work on cadavers, I can see many people being terrified at just being shown like the background of a dungeon. I'm not talking about the sound, I'm not talking about the music or the enemies, just the background. A lot of the themes are also as you'd expect from a game named Diablo. Highly, incredibly, massively drenched with religious references, and a small portion of the story that we have been shown, that have been like able to play through, I will say is excellently written. While I know that it will definitely creep some people out and make some people reach for the holy water in real life, it is a very well written story. Next up is something that will be hit or miss per person, and this is gameplay in general. The camera angle and controls are very 2D, but there are moments of the game where you interact with the world and then it pivots and shows a 3D view. So if you come from League of Legends, you'll feel extremely comfortable in this world in a matter of minutes. It didn't take me that long at all. It's been a while since my League days, but frankly, I felt like I was playing an ADC again. Attack damage carry. Controls are very snappy, inputs are fast, it felt good. Now let's talk about character creation options, because obviously you're trying to create a character that you're role-playing on, which I always try and get something that is as close to me as possible, unless I want to like really take it out there. I honestly don't want to sound too critical on this point, but I found it very limiting. This is ignoring the fact that the two classes that I actually want to play are locked for beta, the druid and the necromancer, and I'm not gonna lie, I saw all these fucking badass werewolves around the map, and I'm like, I want to play that, I want to play that. Which led me to playing Sorcerer, because it's frankly not really my thing, and I wanted to give it a go when I was kind of forced to during the beta, so Sorcerer. But specifically the character creation process I found very limited, in that I kind of feel like no matter what I did, my character looks, well, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it, like he's seen better days and that he might need rehab? I don't know. I tried really messing around with this for a while and I landed on something that I could bear looking at. But ultimately, I still feel like if I was walking around looking like this on the side of the road in real life, I'd probably be arrested. So this is a major area I think the devs should try and focus on here. I also think that the options to make characters a little bit beefier, not look, you know, like that. Right now, I feel a little uncomfortable playing as my character because he just really looks unhealthy, and this is after me trying my best to counter that with the limited options given. I get it, it's Diablo, a game, but guys, I shouldn't feel uncomfortable in this character, please. Now let's talk about in-game build customization, because unlike 14, this game presents a lot of emphasis on build. Like, when you hear about like Path of Exile, when you hear about Diablo, you think about builds, customizations, and what you can really do with them. Basically letting you build your character the way that you want to play it and letting you carve out your own identity through skill expression. I'm thinking about how Final Fantasy XIV as a scholar doesn't even let me choose Celine as a valid separate skill option anymore. I miss it. So for me, for this beta, I played a sorcerer and I got to do my ideal heavy crowd control support based mage, where I could just coat enemies in slows, vulnerability status effects, and I could go other routes like massive fire damage or lightning, so you certainly do have choices choices, meaningful choices, genuinely meaningful choices, not the meme. And I would certainly say that they are very meaningful, but at level 15 as a sorcerer and 15 for other job systems, you get the enchantment system, which lets you place skills that you are not actively putting on your hotbar, so like those 1 to 5 skills, and then you can put that you're not using into one of 2 enchantment slots that give passive effects. For me, I like summoning things, so the fire snake that I could bring out is pretty freaking cool, and so I chose that. So where that kind of, I don't want to say fell flat, but kind of fell flatter for me, or at least brought up concerns for me, is that things are very on rails for the build experience. You need to unlock your basic ability first, whatever, then your alternative mouse button, okay, and then that leads to an on-rails experience of, oh, I now need a defensive, now I need a particular ability of this style or of that style. It felt very on rails, and like you had to have a shield. Like there were passives that can make that shield have DPS boosts, like my ice shield boosts my MP recovery rate. That's sweet, but I'm gonna hold off on worrying too much. But build customization definitely felt less than I wanted to, and a little bit more on rails than I would ever have kind of imagined. I guess this is to ensure that players that might really kind of make janky builds that might cause them a lot of distress are not going to be able to do that. And so maybe this is like another accessibility feature of like, you will be getting a defensive no matter what free. And lastly, there's also a system that I only unlocked after completing one of the last dungeons available to me in the beta of the Codex of Power. There was another one that was on the far south of the map as I was hitting level 20, which unlocked an aspect of the protector for the first one, and there's these different aspects that can give you bonuses. Like aspect of the protector gives me a shield every 30 seconds when I hit an elite target. Almost said yeet. I tried to say hit, so it kind of combined. So like there are definitely systems, for sure there are, but I'm really hoping we can go deeper. But then again, I already knew necromancer was probably going to be where I was going to be most happy with its tremendous build depth, so it could just be that sorcerer just isn't for me, but I really want to see more. Let's talk about some of the game systems, what you're going to be doing in the game. There are a lot of dungeons already in the beta. There are a ton of dungeons that I was able to go to, smash stuff, get loot. It was pretty awesome, to say the least. If the beta is a reflection of what the entire game will be, I'm actually quite optimistic. The dungeons were extremely different and had an aesthetic that I know I would make, how to say it, I know would make some people spew, and there were others that were like ominous and ghostly, and some were just cool. So there was a lot of variety. There was like werewolf dungeons and stuff, there was vampire dungeons. It was really cool. Some of the enemies did, however, after a while feel very samey, but I'm starting to feel like that's more of a product of being level 20 or so. But when you are in the heat of combat, it does feel really rewarding and good to press buttons. The skills that you have feel really powerful. Like also the loot explosions from enemies when you defeat them is classic, but it's a classic for a reason. It feels so good. And one big drawback that I felt that the game in general was too easy, and I shouldn't feel that way after a few short hours of playing it. People ask, hey, did you go to world rank 2 if you say that easy? Like, I did. I started on that. I felt like I'd need to be at least at world level 3 to get the most out of it. Even as a squishy sorcerer, I really was starting to question, did I even need to move? Like, answer was no. And so I feel like that should be resolved when the full game is launched, and I can gleefully masochistically choose world ranks much higher than 2. But what really sucked, regardless of difficulty settings, was the bosses at the end of dungeons really did feel spongy. I didn't die to any of them, but they felt really, really spongy, and maybe that's just me. Maybe my build just really sucks for solo, but some of them I felt were out of this world spongy, and it made me question my sanity as I clicked into them. Again, could be my build is bad for solo damage, and I'm suspecting that might be the case. Other things were events were going on in the open world, which if you come from the world of Final Fantasy XIV are like fates, which it's neat though. It was a lot of variety there, like stand on plates to activate waves of enemies, defend a target as waves come in, make sure that you don't die in the middle of a giant shadow as enemies are spawning everywhere, fight a giant enemy boss. I liked these, and they were really neat touch to the world. As I was exploring, trying to find a dungeon, I'm like, oh, let's go do this. Now, being so low level, I know it's only a small hint of what's to come, but there were also lots and lots of hints towards major crafting gathering systems. There's ore and plants and upgrade systems and stuff that, like gems that were dropped from enemies and other stuff, like a lot of crafting materials. You can also either sell gold for items, you can scrap them for a bunch of different materials. So without knowing too much of systems, because the game we only got our hands on now, because obviously beta few hours ago. I'd say that there is the makings of a lot of amazing systems here, but until we really get into the end game doing end game, it's really way too early to say, but there are a lot of possibilities here though. So with all of that said, what do I think of it? I think it's actually pretty awesome, and that this beta has revealed a lot of solid game structure in it that could make this an amazing game I can see myself logging into consistently. Obviously, until we see the end game, I'm not going to say much more, but what I have, because end game can make or break, but what I have experienced had the foundations of something awesome. Great narrative, solid build options, solid dungeon gameplay is great, and loot explosions from enemies feel awesome. But there are definitely drawbacks, like the character creation. I don't relate to this character. I feel very awkward. I feel like I would get arrested if I looked like this character in real life. I'm not a fan of the fact that builds, at least so far, do feel very much on rails. I feel like there could be more options and builds to specialize and really hone into play styles. Like, say I'm on my druid and I really want to have like wolf companions and really want to go into there. I don't think I can do that with the system, which kind of sucks. So I feel limited in that regard, and I don't really want to say limited like in how to say, if I'm playing a game like Diablo, I don't really want that to be something that comes to my mind of, oh, I feel like my build might be a little limited. Maybe don't go as far as Path of the Exile, but maybe take a few steps in that direction, because like I already have Final Fantasy 14 that gives me new build anything. I kind of want a few more steps in this direction for Diablo. Or rather, I should say away from that and towards Path of Exile. Step away from the 14 no build thing. But overall, really positive. I hope that this is a reflection of the rest of the game, and if you guys tried the beta out or are looking to let me know what you think in the comments. For now, I'm signing out. I might try Rogue next because I actually think that's real cool.